Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrea Nakano. We begin tonight with protests across the country. Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets today to tell the White House hands off, demonstrating against a number of policies recently put into place by the Trump administration and Elon Musk. Drastic cuts to the federal workforce and slashing federal funding across several government programs were top of the agenda. There was also opposition on other issues such as immigration and tariffs. Well, hands-off protests also happened here in the Bay Area. Oakland seniors rallied together earlier over their fears of the future of Social Security, as did veterans at the Civic Center in San Francisco. Our John Ramos spoke to one who's concerned his Social Security checks may soon stop coming.
If people were waiting for an organized pushback against the Trump administration's agenda, it came today. But it didn't come from lawmakers. It came from the people themselves. People gathered in San Francisco to speak out against Donald Trump's executive actions in a scene reminiscent of the massive protests during the Vietnam War.
I feel as intense as I did when I was 20.
Jim Sanderson remembers what it was like in 1970 when Americans lost their belief in not just a war, but the nation itself.
That was a very, it was tearing us apart, and the war and all that. I feel like that again, but now the enemy's from within.
Thousands of people filled the street and plaza in front of City Hall, their faces reflecting a full range of life experiences and concerns.
Thank you for reminding us that sometimes the only way to be heard is to disrupt the status quo.
In the front row was May Alice from the East Bay. She, like a lot of people, is concerned about the possibility of cuts to Social Security. But she thinks it's less likely to happen if people turn out in numbers like this.
There isn't anybody that doesn't have a mom or a dad or a grandma or grandpa on Social Security. I don't think it's actually going to be actualized. I don't, because there's 70 million people that will hit the streets and throw this guy into a dumpster, you know?
The so-called hands-off rallies were organized by a national group called Indivisible. They released this map showing the depth of the event nationwide. Susan Austin with the Mid-Peninsula chapter said the hope is to make an impression on Republican lawmakers in conservative states.
What we're going to see today is people in Alabama, in Pennsylvania, in all these red and swing states that are showing up, and their legislators are going to have to take their constituents' points of view into mind, and more people are saying this wasn't the Trump that I voted for. These aren't the actions that I was thinking I was getting with Trump.
As he watched from across the street, Jim said he felt a sense of relief, especially after there was so little resistance coming from elected officials in the first few weeks.
And for a minute I thought I was the only one that smelled smoke in the house and there was a fire. It wasn't until people started pushing back and the artists started saying, a lot of people don't agree with this. That's when I felt, oh good, now I got to find something to do.
He's doing what any private citizen can, show up and make their voices heard. And they're hoping that the sheer numbers will mean elected officials who have stayed silent will have something else to fear besides Donald Trump come Election Day.